Get out. You're not our son anymore. My dad yelled when I was 21. I left and never came back. I learned 11 years later that they had said I was deceased. To get money, I went to their family gathering and said, "Miss me?" Everyone stopped. Okay, Reddit. This might sound crazy, but here's how I found out I was dead. Haha. Get your popcorn. This one is going to blow your mind. Pay attention. I'm a 36-year-old man named Daniel. I was eating leftover Chinese food in my flat on a Wednesday night when my phone rang. DM on Instagram. The name stands out to me. Scott O'Brien. I hadn't heard from this guy since high school. The message is brief. Hey, man. Is this you? I'm quite sure you're supposed to be dead. Then he provides a picture of the screen. A post on Facebook from my sister Evelyn. A black and white picture of me when I was 17. In our hearts forever. Daniel Reed was born in 1992 and died in 2013. Gone too soon, but always in our hearts. The floor got my chopsticks. The comments made things worse. He's in a better place now, Aunt. And my mom had answered 20 of them with, "Thank you for your prayers." It's what he would have wanted. I wrote back to Scott. What is this? Who told you I was dead? Scott sent a second message. There is a video. Someone put the memorial service on YouTube. I texted back, send it. The video started with music from an organ. There were a lot of individuals I knew in the pews, and they were all wearing black. Then the camera turned to her. My mother, Lucy, stood at the pulpit in a black dress and looked like she was going to cry. We are here today to honor Daniel, our son. He made decisions that brought him far away from us, and in the end, those decisions led to his death. I couldn't get any air. My father sat in the front row, stiff and guilty. Evelyn seemed bored. Then there was the slideshow. Pictures of myself when I was a kid. The last picture was from the last year of school. After that, I was no longer alive. I sat quietly after it was over. They came up in front of everyone and God and lied. I spent the next few hours traveling down the rabbit hole and finding my own obituary. Daniel Reed, 21, died suddenly while on vacation abroad. I found the memorial website with dozens of comments from individuals who assumed I was dead. I went to the church's website and discovered the bulletin for the memorial service. It had the whole program, the opening song, a reading from the Bible, a eulogy by Lucy Reed, and a collection for the Daniel Reed Memorial Fund. They made money off of my phony death during the real burial. I looked at my credit report and checked everything. Nothing strange is going on. They hadn't stolen my identity to get credit cards or loans. Clever. That would have set off alarms. This was better. Just remove me officially and take back what was mine. I looked for the death certificate file, found the county records database, and typed in my name. It was there. 2013-04782 certificate. Sent in on March 18, 2013. Motor vehicle collision in Kansas City, Missouri, was the cause of death. The informant is Lucy Reed. I had never heard of this funeral parlor in Kansas City. Dr. Robert, the attending physician, is also the medical examiner. I had never been to Kansas City before. I don't know who Dr. Robert is. And I definitely wasn't dead. That's when I realized it. Death certificates don't just show up. There are a lot of records, such medical examiner reports and funeral home records. If any of those were phony, it was a very serious crime. If they had messed with Social Security, they would have been charged with federal crimes. If they had forged the death certificate, they would have been charged with state crimes. If they had stolen money from the charity, they would have been charged with tax fraud. This wasn't just a lie. This was fraud that was a crime. I took my laptop and began making a timeline. Then I figured out that something was wrong. I reviewed the certificate again, which was filed in March 2013, but they kicked me out in August 2013. I looked at the Facebook post again. The pictures from the memorial service were taken in June 2013, 3 months after the certificate was filed. 2 months before they kicked me out. While I was still living with them and eating at their table, my mother submitted my death certificate. while I was still alive and working at my dad's business. She had planned the whole affair. File the paperwork early through some scam funeral home or corrupt funeral director willing to look the other way for cash. Give the certificate a few months to go through the system. Then make up an excuse to kick me out. Make it seem like I left mad and stopped talking to you. After that, have the funeral, get the condolences, and finally get the money. That crazy, cold, and planned witch. I realize you don't understand much right now, but let me take you back to that day. It was the month of August in 2013. I was 21 and working at my dad's commercial real estate company. He had been getting me ready to take over since I was 12. Raymond Reed and his son, who will be the next king, and all that other crap. But I didn't want it. I wanted to write, maybe teach, anything but schmooze with coders. I got home one night in late August about midnight. Everyone in the family was waiting. How to intervene? Mom, Dad, Evelyn, and Tom, who works with my dad. My mother spoke first. We need to talk about the decisions you've made about Brooke. Brooke, my girlfriend, is the reason for this attack. They didn't plan for Brooke. Her father worked as a mechanic. She worked at the grocery store. They didn't care about her. My mom said, I know you think you love her, but she's not a good fit for this family. She's getting in the way. From what? From turning into another jerk like Dad. My dad's cheeks turned red. What will happen if you don't watch your mouth? You don't want me anymore? I laughed. Oh, hold on. Tom said something. In 5 years, your dad will be able to retire. He can't do that if you're thinking about a girl who doesn't get this world. A girl? Brooke is her name, and she knows more about the world than any of you do. She didn't have her dad's money to fall back on. She fought her way through college. Evelyn spoke out. She's just want money. Get up, Danny. Someone who digs for gold. She doesn't even know how much money we have. I haven't told her because I don't think of myself as my dad's financial account. Where you do. That's enough. My dad's voice was loud. You can choose. The company, your family, your future, or her. I looked at each one of them. My mom seeming to care. My dad gave me an ultimatum. Tom seemed uneasy but didn't say anything. Evelyn smiled. I pick Brooke. Quiet. My dad's jaw tightened. Then get your things together and leave. You mean it? Absolutely. You want to get rid of everything we've worked for? Okay. Do it without our name or money. Check to see how far you get. Evelyn jumped up from her seat. I'll grab him a bag. Evelyn gave me a trash bag. Really. Some of my clothes were thrown in. She smiled. Good luck, Danny. You are impoverished. I grabbed the bag and departed. That night, Brooke picked me up. We lasted a year, but my anger ruined us. After that, I relocated to Portland, Sacramento, then Seattle. Worked hard jobs, made a life from scratch, never talked to them, never glanced back, except while they were busy erasing me and making money. I called in ill the next day. I needed to know. Proof. I began to dig. My mom's Facebook account was restricted, but Evelyn's wasn't. She liked being the center of attention. I went back and found an entire album of memorials from 2013. Pictures of the service, flowers, and cards of sympathy. One picture made me so angry. Evelyn and my mom are both wearing black outfits. Today we are celebrating Daniel's life. Gone, but not forgotten. I found the death notice. While vacationing abroad, Daniel Reed, 21, died. Not clear enough for anyone to ask inquiries. If they said I was legally deceased, there would be papers like death certificates, medical examiner reports, and probate files. If those were fake, it would be a very serious felony. I needed aid. I contacted Chris Lopez, who used to be my roommate in Seattle. He had become a criminal defense lawyer in Portland, but he knew people who worked for the prosecution. We had lunch together. I told him everything. He whistled softly. This is fraud, Daniel. Very bad fraud. More than one felony. How can I show it? We get every piece of paper. Certificate of death. You already have it. If there was an estate, There are probate records. Records of money transactions. Reports from the medical examiner. Records from the funeral home. He gave me a serious look. This is going to get bad. Ugly at the nuclear level. Are you ready? They put me in the ground. Yes, I'm ready. We put together a case over the course of 3 weeks. I asked the county clerk, the probate court, and the whole system for records. Got copies of anything that had to do with my death. The first records to come back were those for probate. In 2015, my grandpa died. Gave each grandchild $75,000. What happened when his estate went through probate in Kansas? They gave my share to someone else because I was dead. Evelyn gets $35,000. $40,000 went into the Daniel Reed Memorial Scholarship Fund, a real NGO that is registered. Everything, including the tax ID. A scholarship fund in my honor for kids who want to work in commercial real estate. Chris looked through the tax returns. Non-profits have to file in public so that anyone can see them. 3 scholarships in 9 years. Total amount given out, $8,000. Over the years, the fund also got donations from church members and business partners, which added up to another $50,000. But the best part was where the money went. Costs of running the business. I rent office space from my dad's company for $2,000 a month. Evelyn was paid for her consulting work. My mother was in charge of it as executive director. Oh my goodness. Chris claimed they didn't just pretend you were dead. They made money off of it. And for 9 years, they've been running a fake charity. We kept going deeper. Found my name in the death records of the Social Security Administration. It's out in the open. You can find it on the internet. Daniel Thomas Reed died on March 15, 2013. My mom had asked for survivor benefits. Received a single payment of $255. It's not a lot of money, but lying to Social Security is a federal offense that may get you up to 5 years in prison. We discovered something else. Tom Hriss, my dad's business partner, was the notary on the probate paperwork that my mother used to claim my inheritance. This is the same Tom from the intervention. He'd signed her sworn statement claiming I was dead. Had to know it was a lie. That made him an accomplice. I wanted to get them all. We called the funeral home that was on my death certificate. Funeral Services in Kansas City for peaceful rest. Chris had his paralegal do it. They didn't know who I was. There is no record of services, no body, no nothing. My mom either made up the name or used a real business without them knowing. After that, we looked at Dr. Robert. The doctor who is meant to be on my death certificate is. Chris looked him up in Missouri's database of medical licenses. No Dr. Robert in 2013. Not a real name. My mom either made it up or paid someone to fake it. We asked for the Kansas City Medical Examiner's report that was mentioned on the death certificate. It took the Kansas City Medical Examiner's office 3 days to get back to us. There was no case number like that. Never did. My mom had made it up. Chris commented one night, "This is a slam dunk case. There are papers all over the place. If they throw the book at your mom, she could go to prison for a long time. Charges from both the federal and state governments. If Evelyn and your dad knew, they are accessories. Tom is also being charged with fraud. What about my dad? It depends on what he knew and when he knew it. He's an accessory if he knew ahead of time. If he learned about it later but helped cover it up or collected money from it, that's a conspiracy. He could be able to walk if he really didn't know and didn't help. But he is married to her, works with Tom, and his company got money from the scholarship fund to pay rent. He got something good out of it. That's enough to go after him. Tom is obviously involved. He signed a false death certificate. Evelyn is harder. She gained from the fraud, but we'd have to show that she knew you were alive when she took the money. With a smile on her face, she gave me a garbage bag. She was aware. Then we let everyone else know as well. Chris opened Facebook on his laptop and looked through my mom's profile. It seems like your family has a large reunion every year. Big celebration at your parents' place during the 4th of July weekend. The invitation specifies that all of Reed's family and friends are welcome. I smiled. I guess I'm family. In a technical sense, you'll be yourself at the reunion. They said their son was deceased. Why not? It's been 11 years since I died. Time to come back to life. Chris laughed and leaned back. I really like this. All right, let's do it. But first, we're going to file the criminal complaint. Write it down, and then you may go to your family gathering like the ghost of Christmas revenge. For the next month, we got ready. Filed the official complaint with the prosecutor's office. They said they wouldn't make any arrests until I talked to my family. They wanted to see if anyone would make things worse for themselves. Monica, the prosecutor, was a smart woman in her 40s. She looked at me and said, "Your family sounds like a piece of work. You have no idea." Actually, I do. I deal with family fraud cases all the time, but faking a death, that's a new one. And the fact that they profited from it, that makes me angry. We're going to nail them. I liked Monica. I also had to write down everything since I wanted everyone to know what they did. Something they couldn't get rid of. I chose to start a blog, at first anonymously, to keep track of the facts, the dates, the documents, and everything else. I named it The Ghost in the Machine. Posted the first entry a week before the reunion. Just the story, no names yet. Family kicks son out because of his girlfriend. Family says son is dead 11 years later. The son finds out and plans to get back at them. It got about 40 views. It was probably mostly bots, but it was out there. My narrative is about to blow up. It was 2 weeks till the 4th of July. I bought an airline ticket back to my hometown, which I promised myself I would never go back to. But I was going back as a dead man who wouldn't stay buried. It felt like a dream to be on the airplane back. It had been 11 years since I had been to my hometown. I hadn't even driven through it. Seeing the familiar sights from the flying glass made my stomach turn. Chris said he would come with me, but I told him no. I had to accomplish this by myself. He had given me copies of all the documents, though. I had a folder that may ruin my family's image and maybe even throw my mom in jail. That was nice. I got a rental car at the airport and drove to a hotel on the outskirts of town. I didn't want to take the chance of running into anyone before the reunion. I checked in, walked to my room, and put all the papers on the bed. 3 copies of everything: the death certificate, the tax returns, the bank statements, the social security forms, and the criminal complaint. I snapped pictures of each document using my phone, uploaded them to 3 different cloud services, and sent copies to myself and Chris by email. The proof would still be there if something happened. My phone made a noise. Chris sent a text. "Are you okay?" "Yes. I'm going to their place tomorrow. The family reunion starts at 2 p.m. Call me later. I want to know everything. You might see it in the accounts of the arrest." I went over my plan that night, which was even better. I'd arrive an hour after the party started, when everyone was there and settled in. I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how I would go through that door, see their faces, and watch them realize that their beautiful lie had come back to crush them. On the morning of the 4th, I woke up feeling strange and quiet, like all the rage and pain from the preceding 11 years had turned into something icy and sharp. I was prepared. I put on my pants and button-up shirt, grabbed the folder of papers, and looked in the mirror one final time. I said, "Let's go scare some people." It took me 15 minutes to get to my folks' place. Even after all these years, I still knew the way. Past the high school, the park where I used to skateboard, and Brooks Old Street. I was curious if she still lived there. Not likely. She was probably long gone, having a fantastic life somewhere. I hope so. The house where my folks lived looked the same. Large colonial with a yard that is neatly kept. Put up an American flag for the celebration. There were cars all down the roadway. I could hear people laughing and music from the backyard. The party was going strong. I parked a block away and sat there for a while. This was it. When I walked through that door, everything would be different for me, for them, and for everyone else at the party. Good. I stepped out of the car, picked up my folder, and headed up the driveway. The door in the front was open. I opened it and went inside. The smell in the house was the same. That exact mix of my mom's candles and wood polish. It felt like a punch to the chest. Memories coming back. Holidays and birthdays. The night they threw me out. I strolled through the foyer to the back of the home, where I could hear people talking. There was no one in the living room. Everyone was outside. I stopped at the sliding glass door and gazed out at the people having fun. There were 50 or 60 people, including relatives, friends, and business partners, all hanging around on the terrace and grass. My dad was talking to some of his real estate friends. My mom moved through the crowd like a social butterfly, and Evelyn stood with what I thought was her husband, looking rich and bored. I opened the door and stepped out onto the terrace. For a few seconds, nobody noticed. Then someone else did. A cousin I hardly knew. She looked at me, then looked away, and then looked back at me. She opened her mouth. People stopped talking around her. People began to turn and look. The hush moved through the gathering like a wave, and soon everyone was looking at me. My mom saw me. The glass she was holding slipped and broke on the deck. "Hey, Mom!" I exclaimed in a loud voice so everyone could hear. "Do you miss me?" No one moved. No one said anything. My dad was the first person to speak. "Daniel, in the flesh." I walked down the deck steps. People scrambled out of my way. "I found out I died 11 years ago when I was looking through Instagram last week. It looks like it was a car accident. Except I know for sure that I was alive." My mom had turned white. "Daniel, I can explain. Are you able to?" I took the first document out of my folder. Certificate of death. I died in a car accident in Kansas City, Missouri. Case number KCME 2030847. Lucen Reed recalls. I looked around at everyone. I called the Kansas City Police Department, and they said that case number doesn't exist. Never did. I held it up and walked past the crowd. Tom Hendricks notarized the certificate 3 days before it was filed. "The whole thing is fake." "Jesus Christ," someone muttered. Everyone was glancing at each other, speechless. I pulled out the second document. Probate court filing. Grandpa Walter died in 2015. Left $75,000 to each grandchild. Except I'm listed as dead, so my share got split up. $35,000 to Evelyn. $40,000 to the Daniel Reed Memorial Scholarship Fund. A non-profit mom set up in my name. Evelyn's face had gone red. "Daniel, you need to leave." "Not done." I held up the third document. Charity tax returns. 9 years of this fund. 3 scholarships given out. $8,000 total. But the fund claimed over $85,000 in expenses across all the donations they collected. Paid to Crossfighting. That's Mom's company. You skimmed over 90% of a charity you made in my name. I pulled out one final page. Criminal complaint filed last week. Fraud charges, theft, falsifying documents. Prosecutors already moving forward. The crowd erupted. People shouting questions at my parents. Others pulling out their phones recording. My grandmother was crying, asking my mother how she could do this. An uncle I barely remembered was yelling about being lied to for years. One of my dad's business partners stormed off, throwing his bottle in the trash hard enough that it made a loud bang. My mother sank into a chair, head in her hands. Evelyn was screaming at me, calling me vindictive, telling me I was destroying the family. My father just stood there frozen, watching his perfect life collapse in real time. I walked up to him. "You told me to get out 11 years ago. Well, I made it without you, without your money." I stepped back. "Now you get to see what happens when everyone knows the truth." Someone in the crowd yelled, "You faked your own son's death for money." "How could you, Lucy?" said another voice. Mom looked up, mascara running. "You don't get it." "We understand perfectly," my grandmother said, her voice shaking. "You're a liar and a thief." I turned and walked toward the house. My mother's voice cut through the noise. "Daniel, please." I stopped, looked back. "You declared me dead. You cashed in. I'm just making sure everyone knows who you really are." I walked through the house and out the front door, got in my rental car and left. Behind me, I could still hear the chaos. People yelling, accusations flying. The perfect 4th of July party imploding. I called Chris. It's done. How'd it go? Like a nuclear bomb. Perfect. The aftermath was faster and more brutal than I expected. I stayed at the hotel that night and by morning, my phone was exploding. Texts from distant relatives, Facebook messages from old acquaintances. Everyone wanted the story, the gossip, their piece of the drama. I ignored most of it. Spent the morning updating my blog. Posted the full story with one caveat. No names yet. Called them mother, father, sister. The people who knew would know. But I also updated my social media. Changed my Facebook to public. Added a profile picture of me very much alive with the caption, "Reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated." The blog post went semi-viral. Thousands of views, people were sharing it. Chris called around noon. "Dude, prosecutor's office is moving forward. Your mom's arraignment is next week and Evelyn's husband is filing for divorce. Didn't know about the fraud. Feels betrayed." I laughed. "Good. There's more. Your dad's business partners are bailing, putting out statements. Your mom got removed from the church board. Someone leaked it to local news. It's airing tonight." That evening, I watched from my hotel. Lead story. Local woman accused of faking son's death for financial gain. The prosecutor, Monica, was interviewed. Professional but determined. "This is one of the most egregious fraud cases I've seen. Mrs. Reed not only falsified government documents, she profited from it. We're pursuing maximum penalties. My mother was shown leaving her house, surrounded by reporters, looking destroyed. She said nothing. Just got in her car and left. I felt nothing. The story spread. Podcast hosts wanted interviews. I ignored most of it. 1 week later, Brooke messaged me. My ex, the reason they'd kicked me out. "Hey, saw the news. Holy heck, are you okay?" We messaged for an hour, caught up. Normal conversation. A reminder that not everything from my past was toxic. Before signing off, she wrote, "I'm proud of you for surviving, for fighting back, for not letting them win." That felt strange. It made my throat tight because I had thought for years that I was the problem when I wasn't. They were. The legal case moved forward. My mother tried to negotiate a plea deal, but the prosecutor wasn't having it. They wanted this to go to trial, to be a warning to anyone else who thought they could commit fraud and get away with it. But the real punishment wasn't going to be legal. It was social. My mother couldn't show her face in town without people whispering. My father lost 3 major business deals because his partners didn't want to be associated with the scandal. Tom Hendris got hit with his own charges. Accessory to fraud. State Bar opened an investigation. He'd lose his notary license at minimum. Maybe face charges. His wife filed for separation 3 days later. The church my parents had attended for 30 years asked them not to return. My mother's book club disbanded. My father's golf buddies stopped calling. The family was shattered. About 2 months after the confrontation, I got a text from an unknown number. "Daniel, it's your father. We need to talk." I stared at it. Part of me wanted to delete and block. Move on. But another part, the part that had wondered for 11 years if they'd ever acknowledged what they'd done, wanted to hear it. I texted back about what? Everything. Please, just us. I owe you that. I thought about it. Talked to Chris, who said, bad idea. Talked to my therapist, who said maybe closure, but be careful. In the end, I agreed. Neutral location, coffee shop in the next town. Told Chris where I'd be to call cops if I didn't check in within 2 hours. My father showed up looking terrible. Not the polished Raymond Reed. I remembered a broken man. Good. He sat across from me, ordered coffee. He didn't touch, just looked at me. You look good, he finally said. Yeah, well, being alive will do that. He winced. Daniel, why am I here? Dad? What do you want? He took a breath. I want to apologize for everything, for all of it. I leaned back and laughed. Bitter. You want to apologize now? After 11 years, After declaring me dead, after stealing my inheritance, now you're sorry. I know it's not enough. It's not even close. He looked at his hands. I didn't know she was going to file the death certificate. I swear when you left, your mother was devastated. Not because she missed you, but because you'd embarrassed her. Chosen someone outside the family. Made her look bad. She said we should tell people you'd moved away. I agreed. I thought that was the end, but it wasn't. No. Few months later, she told me you'd died. Car accident overseas. I didn't believe her at first, but she showed me the death certificate. Said she'd gotten confirmation from the embassy. Quote. He trailed off. I wanted to believe it was real because it was easier than admitting we'd lost you. Well, so you went along with it. The funeral, the scholarship fund, everything. I thought you were really dead, Daniel. I mourned you. I leaned forward. When did you find out the truth? Long silence. Then last year saw a charge on our credit card. Payment to a PI firm in Seattle. When I asked her, she broke down. Said she'd been tracking you since 2014. Where you lived, where you worked, had photos. She knew you were alive and kept the lie going for the money. Why didn't you tell anyone? My voice shook. Why didn't you report her? Because I'm a coward, he said simply. Coming clean meant losing everything. The business, our reputation, your mother, and I chose to protect those things instead of you. At least he was honest. Didn't make it better. Is that why you're here? To clear your conscience? I'm here because you deserved better. A family who supported you instead of erasing you. He looked at me with actual regret. I can't fix what I did, but I wanted you to know that I know I failed you. We sat in silence. The coffee shop buzzed around us. People living normal lives, unaware a dead man was having coffee with his father. Finally, I spoke. Where's Mom now? Out on bail. Trials in 3 months. Her lawyer thinks probation, community service, fine. No jail. But she's not well. Daniel breakdown. Won't leave the house. Won't talk to anyone. Evelyn won't speak to her. The church banned her. She lost everything. Good. I said coldly. She deserves it. He didn't argue. And Evelyn gone. Moved to Arizona. Her husband divorced her. Took their kid. She blames you for everything. Of course she does. Evelyn never takes responsibility for her own actions. My father reached across the table like he might take my hand, then thought better of it. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't expect anything from you. I just wanted you to hear me say it. I'm sorry for all of it. You're my son and I should have protected you. Should have chosen you over everything else. But I didn't. And I'll live with that for the rest of my life. I stood up. The conversation was over. I'm not your son. You made that clear 11 years ago. And you made it clearer when you let her bury me. Daniel, save it. You want to feel better about what you did? Go tell it to a therapist or a priest or whoever. But don't come to me. I'm not in the forgiveness business. I walked out of that coffee shop and didn't look back. My phone buzzed with a text from Chris as I got to my car. Everything's good. Yeah. Just needed to hear him admit he's a coward. Did he? In so many words. And more importantly, I needed to look him in the eye and feel nothing. Mission accomplished. I drove back to Portland the next day. Left that town behind for what I hoped was the last time. I'd said what I needed to say, done what I needed to do. Now it was time to actually move on and stop looking back at the wreckage. The trial happened 3 months later. I didn't attend, but Chris kept me updated. My mother's lawyer cut a deal. She pleaded guilty to some misdemeanors, falsifying records, theft. Prosecutor dropped the big federal charges. Wire fraud's hard to prove, apparently. The deal. 18 months probation, 400 hours community service, $75,000 back to me, 12 grand in fines, no jail time, first offense, white-collar crime. Oregon's soft on this stuff. The real punishment was everyone knowing what she did. The scholarship fund was dissolved. The money was redistributed to actual scholarship programs. My name was removed from everything. Good. I didn't want to be associated with them anyway. Evelyn never reached out. Neither did my mother. My father sent one more text about 6 months after our coffee shop meeting. Just I hope you're doing well. I didn't respond, but I moved on, kept working, got promoted, got a better apartment. This time with an actual view of the city. Started dating someone new, a woman named Rachel, who I met at a friend's party. When she asked about my family, I told her the whole story. She listened without judgment and then said, "Dang, who needs enemies when you got a family like that?" I liked her immediately. My blog became a small platform for other people who'd been downed or erased by their families. I got messages every day from people sharing their stories, asking for advice and finding community. The story of my resurrection faded from the news cycle. Eventually, new scandals. People forgot about my family and their fraud. But the internet doesn't forget. My blog posts were still out there, a permanent record of what they did. About a year after the trial, I ran into Scott at a coffee shop. The same guy who'd sent me that first Instagram message, the one that started this whole thing. We caught up, talked about life, laughed about how insane everything had been. "Man," he said halfway through his second coffee, "I'm glad you're not dead." "Yeah, me too. You ever think about forgiving them? Your family?" "No. What they did was unforgivable. They erased me, profited from erasing me, and they didn't feel bad about it until they got caught." He nodded. "Fair enough." Then one evening, I got a message from an anonymous email address. No name, but I knew who it was. "Daniel, I know you don't believe me. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I need you to know that I think about you every day about what I destroyed. I don't expect you to respond. I just needed to say it. I'm sorry, Mother." I didn't respond. Didn't owe her anything. She'd made her choice 11 years ago, and I'd made mine. Life moved on. I didn't hear from any of them until 4 years later. My dad showed up again and dropped this bomb. The knock on the door came on a random Thursday evening. I was making dinner when the doorbell rang. Rachel was out with friends. I figured it was a delivery. I opened the door and found my father standing there. He looked way older, broken. "Son," he said quietly. I stood there, hand on the doorknob, debating whether to slam it in his face. "What brings you here?" "Just 5 minutes, please." I stepped outside, closing the door behind me. Wasn't going to invite him into my home. 5 minutes, I said. He took a breath like he'd been practicing this. "Your mother died." I paused. Wasn't expecting that. "When?" 3 weeks ago. Heart attack. She'd been sick. Wouldn't see doctors. He paused. "I think she gave up after the trial." "Daniel, she died grieving you." I don't know if that makes me an a-hole, but honestly, I did not care. "And you're telling me this because?" I asked. "Because you're her son." "I never was. And I don't care." He flinched, but didn't argue. "The funeral is Friday. You don't have to come. I'm not asking you to. But I wanted to tell you in person." "Is Evelyn coming?" "No. She didn't want anything to do with it. With me? With any of this. She's still blaming us for ruining her life after the divorce." We stood in silence for a moment. I looked at this man who used to terrify me.